Hi, everyone. We are just letting everybody in from the waiting room, and we're going to jump right in. We want to honor your time and hopefully be all wrapped up by 7. So we're going to jump in. And if you have questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. But we are going to get started with all things college applications. So welcome. My name is Allison Styffe. I am the Baker College Career Counselor for students in Central Oregon, Eastern Oregon, and Southern Oregon who are part of the early college or web college program.
And hi, good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I'm Jennifer Tracewell, and I do college and career advising for the early college, web college students in Portland, Salem, Eugene, and also for the Web Academy students. So welcome. We're super happy that you're here tonight.
Awesome. So we are going to try to keep everybody muted while we're running through everything. At the end, we'll have time for questions, so you can unmute yourself when we let you know then. In the meantime, like I said, just pop your questions into the chat. When I'm talking, Jen will keep up with you in the chat. When Jen's talking, I'll do the same. So we'll keep our eye on that. And you can also, we'll share our contact info, so you'll have our email addresses. I put in the chat already a link to schedule an appointment with Jen or I, depending on who your counselor is, your college career counselor is. So if at any point you're like, wait, I feel like I need somebody to walk me through that step by step, we love to do that. So feel free to click that link, schedule an appointment, so we can do that with you one-on-one. So those are just some options for you as we're going through tonight and you have questions. Overall, we're guessing that you might be feeling a little overwhelmed. I know I was when I was a senior in high school and it was fall, and suddenly not only are you keeping up with your classes, but you're also applying to college and thinking about your future in this big, huge way. So we get it. We're here with you on the journey, and hopefully by the end of these webinars, you're going to feel a little less overwhelmed and a little more like, I know what I'm doing. So that's our hope for you, is that you feel like you know what you're doing. So a couple of weeks ago, we had the financial aid webinar hosted by Jen Satellino. We have a link to that in the blog that I'll share with you at the end. We're recording tonight, October 12th. We're going to go run through all things actual applications, and that will be on the blog as well. And then our future webinars are going to be about essays, writing the best essay you can, and scholarships. So put those dates on your calendar. They're going to be at 6:00 p.m. Same Zoom room. So we hope to see you there too. But for tonight, this is what we're going to chat about. So we're going to run through requirements, what's in a college application, how do you access college applications, where do you find them, where do you start, what kind of documents do you need to include, and how do you include them, and how to stay organized through this whole thing, because oh my gosh, there's a lot to keep track of, and you're not meant to hold it all in your brain. So we have some places for you to write it all down. So we're going to start with requirements, because this is one of the questions we get asked the most is, what even goes into a college application? If you have done a few, you might know, but each college can be a little different. So overall, these are the kinds of things they're looking at. First and foremost, and often most important, is your transcript. What classes have you taken? What kinds of grades have you gotten? How rigorous have your courses been? Have you taken the right amount of English, science, foreign language, all those things? And so we recommend that you sit down with your advisor and go through that transcript Make sure it all looks good. All your classes are on there. All your grades are right. And you will request those transcripts to be sent to your schools that you're applying to via Overgrad, which we're going to talk about later. So you can't just email them your copy. I think you should have a copy. Ask your advisor for a copy, but you can't just email it yourself. They need kind of that official stamp of approval from Baker that it's legit. So that's what Overgrad does. And the next thing that a lot of schools look at are SAT or ACT scores. Less and less schools are looking at these, fewer and fewer schools are looking at these because of COVID, because of equity issues. So you might find that the schools you're applying to either don't require them, they're what's called test optional, or they are even what's called test blind, which means even if you do send your scores in, they're not going to look at them. They're not going to consider them. So it's important to know, does your school want or need them? And should I send them in? This is a question that, oh my gosh, Jen and I get asked all the time, because now it's a strategy game, right? Who do I send my SAT scores? Who do I send my ACT scores to? One of my favorite ways to do it, it's going to sound really like, it's way too simple. But if you hop on Google and you type in average SAT score at OSU or U of O or wherever you're applying, one of the very first links that's going to pop up is to a website called Prep Scholar. And they have this really lovely breakdown for almost every college of what is the average GPA, what is the average SAT score, ACT score of students who are admitted. So if your SAT score is higher than average for that school, send it in. If it's lower than average, leave it out. It's not going to make your application stand out at all. So that's the general advice I'm going with. Jen, am I missing anything?
Nope, I think you've got it covered. At this point, seniors, I would not be scrambling to take the SAT unless you've already been studying for months and you already have a seat. I would just know that pretty much all colleges right now are test optional once again. So again, if you've already taken it, awesome. You get to do what Allison just said and use that strategy. If you haven't, but feel like, oh, I'm in a panic, I have to sign up, I wouldn't be in a panic and I wouldn't actually do that at this point.
Yes, that's a great point, because like we said, the great majority of schools won't even look at them, let alone require them. So yes, don't panic if you haven't done it. Instead, focus on some of these other things that we're going to talk about. So another application element that most colleges are going to want is at least one or two, some even more, letters of recommendation. So these are the adults in your life. Usually your counselor, your advisor is going to be one of them. Oftentimes a teacher or two, or if you're at the college, an instructor or two. Sometimes they even want an additional person, like maybe you feel like your piano teacher has seen you grow in tremendous ways over the course of your life, and you want them to write you a letter. A lot of private schools, private Christian schools, are going to want a religious leader in your life to write a letter for you. So make a list of those people who know you best or know the best of you, and start asking them now if you haven't, because you want to give them time to write a good letter. At the same time, ask them politely. Don't be demanding. Be very respectful. The more graciously you ask for a letter, the better that letter usually will be. And this is another document that you're going to have requested to be sent through Overgrad. So you're going to hear us say Overgrad a lot throughout the night, and we're going to talk about how to use it a little later. I'm going to jump to essays instead. So for your essays, this is becoming more and more so a shining element of your application. As they look less and less at SAT and ACT scores, they look more and more at things like essays and letters of rec. and extracurriculars, all the things on this page. So with essays, this is your chance to not repeat anything in your transcripts or your extracurriculars. This is your chance to share your personality with them, to tell them a story about yourself, to give them a chance to hear your voice and what kind of human you would be on their college campus. If you haven't started your essays and you feel a little iffy on them, we love getting you started on that process. This is a great time to click over into that schedule an appointment section, because sometimes it can be better to meet with somebody through that brainstorming process and drafting process so that you're starting with something really great and that you're excited about and proud of, rather than writing a draft and then sending it to somebody and it's a little bit of a mess. And how do you catch up and get it to be what you want it to be? So if you haven't started, schedule an appointment with us. Go to your writing center. If you're at the community colleges, go to your writing center. You have pros that you can meet with that do this too, that are excellent. So the point is start now, because it can take a long time to write many drafts until you get that one perfect, shiny essay that feels like really representative of who you are and what your voice is. We're going to talk about this in depth in a couple of weeks as well. So call in for that. In the meantime, you can check out a previous session that we had in a blog post with the link there to help get your wheels turning as you're writing. And then finally, your extracurriculars. So these are all the things you've done outside of the classroom. It's volunteer work, it's clubs, sports, jobs. And what we recommend you do is create a chart, kind of like the one here, or even the one I'm going to show you here. We have a template ready for you to just create your own, to write it all out, where you can write what you did, what kind of extracurricular is this. What we have here is everything on the Common app, which Jen is going to talk about in a few minutes. This is every category that an extracurricular could possibly fall into. What did you do? What accomplishments did you achieve while you were doing it? How long did you do it? So we recommend you have it written down in a space like this, and not just your applications themselves, so that you can go back and reference it for every application you fill out. And for scholarships, a lot of scholarships are going to ask this information of you. So have it written down, and feel free to use this template. Just click File and make a copy so that you can have your very own custom chart. Another FAQ is, gosh, what has COVID done to this whole process? I've mentioned it, especially the SAT and ACT is the big thing. Even less emphasis on things like GPA, because they know it's been hard to access your education in a successful way the last 2 years. And so they're taking that into account and focusing more and more on things like, your essays, extracurriculars. Also, demonstrated interest. So I have a whole blog post on this, but essentially it is, how interested are you in their school and how do they know that you're interested? So more and more schools want to know, has this student gone on a tour, even a virtual tour with us? Have they reached out to their admissions counselor? So they want to know that they want your not only to see you're interested by applying, but to see you're interested by researching and engaging, following them on social media, those kinds of things. So make sure you're doing those. Check out the blog to learn more. We're going to have a link to that at the end. Some schools are even now, because of COVID, requiring interviews so that they have even more info about you. So keep your eye on that. I would say if a school does have an interview, like an option to do one, do it. If they have an optional anything, do it. And we'll talk more about optional essays and what that looks like next week. So those are all of the ways that a school assesses, is this student right for our campus? Next, Jen is going to talk about the applications themselves and how do you access those. So I'm going to let her share her screen.
Right. Okay. I think I'm sharing my screen. I am going to go into present mode. Am I okay on my audio?
You're great.
I'm good, Allison. All right. So I'll go ahead and get myself in present here. So the application itself, this is, the meat of what like all this work is going towards. You have to do the actual application. And there are things to consider, like, well, what application do I fill out? Sometimes you have multiple choices of applications. What deadline do I look at? There's lots of things to consider. So we're going to give a kind of an overview tonight. And if you have real specific questions, don't hesitate to schedule, just an individual session with Allison or myself. So I'm going to start with some of the most common types of applications, and you will see us reference the Common App, individual school websites, and the Coalition application. Those are some of the main ones that we're going to be looking at tonight. So the Common application is used by, I want to say, 700 or 800 colleges. So there's a lot of schools that use this, including some Oregon colleges that many of you are applying to, like the University of Oregon, Oregon State, George Fox, I think, is now on the Common App. But there's a lot of Oregon colleges that don't use it either. So we'll discuss that in a second. But I wanted to make sure for a significant number of you who do have at least one Common App college, I wanted to show you how to set up your account on there. Won't go into too much depth just because of time considerations for tonight, but you want to go ahead and go to commonapp.org and hit apply now. And you will start your application in a very important way by making a decision that some of you have been really confused about if you're in early college, and that is that you are a first-year student, not a transfer student. I don't care how many college credits you have. I've had students say, but Ms. Tracewell, I have 100 college credits. I've been doing early college. I should be a transfer student. And not to worry, those credits will get attached to you later, but you need to apply as a first year for some important reasons, mostly to do with money and scholarships that are only available the first year. So if you did any of your college credits while you were still in high school, you're a first-year student. You're still in high school. You haven't graduated yet. So all those college credits that we call dual enrollment, please apply as a first year. It would be really sad to miss out on the thousands of dollars you would get if you applied as a transfer student. Even though there's this weird myth out there that, well, it's easier to get admitted as a transfer student. That's why people do it. They think it's easier, and it's not. It's really not. But I get the the lure of that. So that's just the first step. Is you're a first year student, and it's hard to go back and undo that once you listed that. You have to go back and unravel some things, and it can get complicated. So you'll create your account. And yes, write down your login, make sure that you bookmark and save this. And if there's anyone in the room tonight who maybe you're not a senior yet, maybe you're a junior or even a sophomore, you can create your Common account now, and it rolls over year to year. So you can save your information. Maybe you just want to start it knowing that you actually don't submit it until the fall of your senior year. You can start it now. And there are just lots of pages to go through. You're going to get your account set up, and then from here you're going to start adding colleges and filling out applications. So I'll go ahead and just jump into the Common App really quick and show you what it looks like. And here I am as my fake student. So all of you who do one-on-one sessions with me, I go in here and show you my fake student account because it lets me see exactly what you see. So like 2 or 3 things I wanted to point out is that you do have a My Colleges tab where you add only the colleges that you're actually applying to. And each college will have specific things you need to do, not the Common App tab, which is like the general thing that goes out to every single college. Some colleges will have a specific question or questions that pertain only to them. Like, you know, if I look at Point Loma Nazarene University as an example, um, you will see that, you know, they have some specific requirements. You always really want to look at what are the writing requirements. Most of them want this Common App personal essay that goes to every college, but often, especially with private or religious college-based colleges, they're going to have some separate college questions. So be on the lookout for that specific thing. And then, well, while I'm here in Point Loma, I'll use it to showcase another really important thing that you need to do that ties into what Allison will talk about in a little bit with overgrad is make sure you do the FERPA waiver. Once you do it for one college, it will actually waive your FERPA rights for every college. And FERPA stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which protects your data as a student. What you're doing with this waiver is you're waiving the right to read your letters of recommendation. We highly, highly recommend that, or the system kind of breaks because it sends a signal that maybe you don't trust what your recommender is going to say. It just disrupts that sort of authentic process of a recommender being able to write exactly what they want to write, knowing the student will never see it. So that's what this is about. It's saying, I do not intend to read any letters of recommendation. And again, it reassures colleges that the letters are candid and truthful. That's the heart of this. And so once I do this for one college, I say I've read and understood the FERPA, and I continue and I do that release, it suddenly applies that release to all the colleges that I've added to my list. You don't have to do it every single time. Okay, so go ahead and do that FERPA release for the individual colleges. The actual Common App itself is based on these sections here. You have a profile where it's just a data, sort of demographic information on yourself, on your family. And sometimes I've had students and families, parents, guardians reach out to me like, do I really have to fill this out? This feels like really like invasive of my privacy. You know, what's the marital status? What is it? And it's like, do I really have to answer all of these questions? And yes, if you want to use the common application and apply to college, you do. And I get that it can feel weird, but this is how the system works. And so it's going to ask questions like, what's the education status of your parents? What's the highest degree they've earned? And it all comes down to, what support can we give you? If you're a first generation college student and no one in your family has gone to college, suddenly you have access to extra scholarships or extra support. So there is a reason for the questions. It's not just being nosy. So fill it out to the best of your ability. There'll be an education section where you need to fill out the school you're going to. So be really careful to choose the correct school. Baker Early College High School will be what you choose if you're strictly a Baker Early College student. If you're a Webb College student or a Webb Academy student, you would choose Baker Webb Academy. That's like a weird little distinction I wanted to point out on what school do you choose. Webb College kids are the ones that usually don't know what to do. They are technically under the umbrella of the Webb Academy. So just be careful to make the right selection right there. And then, there's a testing section where you get to say yes or no if I'm going to submit an ACT or SAT. If you don't plan on doing that, just select no. Allison talked about the activities section already, and she has an awesome chart that you can work on your own and then just dump it right here into the Common App really easily. And then the essay section, which Allison will cover in our next webinar. There are 7 prompts that the Common App lets you choose from. They are all really open-ended questions. In fact, there's one that says share an essay on any topic of your choice. So like literally write anything. But again, Allison will cover, what do you really want to write? What story do you really want to tell to showcase your best self? So, and then another really important piece that I wanted to point out on the Common App is there are a lot of universities, not all of them, but a significant number that require your courses and grades, where you have to go in and literally write down every class you've ever taken, starting in 9th grade, what grade you got, etc. It's annoying, and you just need to get your transcript from your counselor, have it right there next to you, just crank through it. It might take you an hour or less, but you need to do it. And then the one piece to point out here for any early college or web college students is where it says course level, you are to choose dual enrollment, none of the other choices. If you're in the Web Academy, we don't have, we do have some honors classes, so you would want to look at that, or you would just want to choose regular standard. So the Web Academy doesn't have AP or IB or any of these other things you'll see on here. So Web Academy, you're going to be regular standard or honors, and then Web College, early college, dual enrollment. So there you go. Those are some key pieces of the Common App to point out to you. Other than the deal with your colleges, please do not add your recommenders in your college, in your Common App. That is only going to go through. So this recommenders and FERPA piece that I talked about, you're going to see a place in, I'm not sure exactly where to find it at the second, I won't worry about it right now, but just do not invite recommenders in Common App. Allison will cover that when we talk about overgrad. That's the other like kind of mistake I see happen pretty often for students. Okay, that's Common App. And so you have to fill out the general Common App questions, and then each individual college will have some special things that you need to pay attention to in the Common App. So again, do not hesitate to reach out to either of us if you have questions. The other type of application that a handful of colleges use, like maybe 150 colleges, is called the coalition application. I'm not going to walk through that like I just did the Common App because there are a lot fewer of you, but just know it exists. It's similar to Common App. Some colleges offer both, like the University of Oregon added the coalition app this year. So if you're applying to the U of O, you have the choice. It shows you can apply using the Common App, the coalition app, or the individual school website. This is where you strategize efficiency models. Like if you have at least one other college that uses the Common App, obviously choose the Common App. So you just do that one. So just always be thinking about what is the least amount of work I have to do to fill out an application. So only do the coalition app if it's the literal only choice, like the University of Washington, only the coalition application. So do some smart thinking on which applications you want to use. And then there's lots of other colleges where you have to apply directly via the college website, and that's the only choice. We've had a lot of students, for example, apply to Corbin or Western Oregon, and you'll know that you have to apply on their website because you go to their admissions page and it's just going to have an application button. It's not going to have anything about the Common App or coalition app. It's just going to only be right there. And that's how you know. So always visit the admissions page of the college you want to apply to, because you're going to find out some interesting things, admissions requirements, etc. Like this college is pretty cool because it's like, oh, we don't require an essay or ACT or SAT or academic references. I'd be like, wow, I might want to apply there. That sounds, if it was like you're slightly interested in that college, just think about that. So always just visit the website to figure out what that college wants for its application. So one final thing on the actual application is fee waivers. I, along with Allison and all of our staff here at Baker, we really like to save you money. We really like you to, not be going into student debt. So we find every way possible, whether it's fee waivers or colleges that have a tuition-free program if you're free and reduced lunch, and or Pell Grant eligible, whatever it is, this is like a huge goal of ours. So there are application fee waivers available for students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. If you've ever gotten an SAT or ACT fee waiver, you automatically qualify for an application fee waiver. And it can get expensive. The average cost of one college application is $45. There are some, I'm looking at you, Stanford University, $90 for one application. So it can get crazy. So if you think you might qualify, apply through the college. They will have that on their admissions page. NACAC, which is, oh my gosh, North American College Admissions Council. I'm totally guessing on what it stands for, something like that. It's a college admissions consortium. They have a fee waiver form that all colleges will accept. So I've linked it here. It just is a pretty basic form that your counselor will also have to sign. So please be thinking ahead. If you think you need an admission fee waiver, we do not want that to be the reason you don't apply for college. That would be a tragedy. So we can sign that for you if you think you might qualify. So please take advantage of that. And I won't click right here now, but there is a huge list of colleges with no application fees at all. So if that's a huge concern, check that out too. And all right, Allison, I'm going to turn it back over to you. That's a lot on applications, and good luck with that. I didn't really talk about deadlines, but please pay attention to early application and regular decision deadlines. And early application typically means you might get a slightly, a little edge on admissions and scholarships. And that tends to be November 1st, November 15th. So I'm like looking at the calendar here. You don't have much time, but you can still pull it off. Regular admissions tends to be around January 1st. So you need to start, when we get to the organizational tool section, we'll talk about how to track that stuff. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Again, if any of that felt like, whew, I want someone to do this with me, make an appointment with us. We're happy to, especially filling out, all the classes that you've taken and making sure you're answering the questions. Some of the questions can be a little confusing, especially the ones pertaining to financial aid. So just chat with us. We'll be here. We're around. It's our job. It's also our job to make sure that your documents are getting sent in. It's our job, and it's also your advisor's job, and it's your recommender's jobs. So there are going to be a lot of people sending in a lot of documents for you all, and we want to make sure you know exactly how to do it so that your documents don't get lost in the shuffle. So you've heard us talk about overgrad. Now's overgrad's time to shine. If you have not received an email from overgrad, some of you might need to check your parents' account, check your school login. Don't just check your regular email. Check a few different inboxes you might have and see, do you have an email from overgrad to activate your account? Some of you have done this already. If you've been with Baker since you were a junior, or earlier, you might have already done this. But if you're a senior and you're just joining, this might be new. So if you do not have an email saying, click here to activate your overgrad account, we need to know that. You should be in the system. We need you to be in the system. So let Jen or I know, let your advisor know, and we will get you on there. It is a great resource, not just for the technicality of sending in your documents, but for putting together that college list, seeing all of your applications in one place and their deadlines and your chances of admission. Overgrad does a lot of cool things. So you can search for schools in there. You can add them to your list. Like I said, you can see based on your GPA and your test scores, what are your chances of admission. Take these both with a grain of salt and to heart, somewhere in the middle there. We've had students who have gotten into far reach schools. So just because a school says far reach or reach doesn't mean you're not going to get in. Have a mix of all of them. But what I want to show you, because those are the fun things it does. We need to know what are like the necessary things it does tonight, right? So I'm going to show you. So here I am in my pretend student account. So this is what your page will look like when you pull up your applications. So when you go to view applications, this is the page you're going to see. It is in one nice, wonderful place, going to show you, like I said, those academic fit categories, when the application is due based on if you're going to do early action or regular deadlines, and you can keep tabs on you will apply, you have applied, you've gotten in. That's all information that's going to be helpful for your advisors to know as they're submitting docs for you. So this is my little school list I have, but you can add as many as you want. Jen and I usually recommend somewhere between 4 and 6 is like the beautiful number of college applications to submit. It's enough to give you options, but not too many to where you're then sacrificing how good one application is over another. It gives you time to work on them well. So let's add a 5th in here. And I'm going to add a Common App school. So I'm going to do University of Oregon. So this is where you add your applications. Up here, you type in the school, you click add application. Oh, this is one that I already had on my list. So if it is one that you already have on your list, it'll be down here and you can just add it in. And you're going to answer questions about when you're applying. Are you doing early action, regular, early action 2? They'll have a lot of different options. You can see the school's website to understand the deadlines. And then you can say how you're applying. Like Jen said, you might apply through the website. You might apply through Common App. Hopefully nobody is applying with a paper application, but I love that they keep that as an option, just in case that's you. That sounds tedious to me, but so let's say we're going to apply through the Common App for this one. We will apply, haven't hit that submit yet button yet, but we will. So you've added a school. It's going to bring you to this page where you request your documents. So down at the bottom, it will have a box here. This one looks a little funny right now because I have not linked my Common App account with my Overgrad account. This is going to give you step-by-step directions, videos on how to do it. It'll show you, once you do link your accounts, which specific documents you need to include. You'll select who your counselor is at Baker. There'll be lots of options. You'll see your person on there. And so once those two are linked, once your Common App and your Overgrad are linked, you'll be able to attach your documents. If you are applying just directly through the school's website, then it's going to look a little different because it won't tell you exactly which documents you need to include. So you'll need to go to the school's website. On their admissions page, they're going to say, just like Jen showed you for Corbin, they didn't need a lot. So you might not need to attach a lot for some, but some are going to say, we want your transcripts. We want 3 different letters of rec. And we want, a midterm grade report as well. So this is where you'll go attach a document. Let's say you're going to ask for a teacher evaluation. That's a teacher letter of rec. You'll attach it or request it. Hopefully you don't attach it, because hopefully you don't have a copy of it, because Jen already talked to us about FERPA and not seeing your letters of rec. You can add recommenders here. So let's say you're going to ask your science professor for a letter of rec. You'll include their email address and their name. And then when you click add and submit, it's going to send them an email saying, please send your letter of rec here. So that it's going to give them directions. So you're done at that point. You'll be able to see down here when they've submitted it and if, which is really wonderful. Because let's say the deadline is creeping up on you, it's due in a week. You can check back in and let them know, hey, I saw that my letter's not in there yet. Is there anything I can do to help you get that in? Because some of them will say, actually, yes, can you send me some information about yourself to make this letter writing easier? So that is how you will request transcripts and letters of recommendation, and also mid-year reports if schools need them. Those are the three main documents that you'll use on Overgrad. So, like I said, if you haven't been in there yet, or you haven't gotten an email yet, let us know, because this is how you'll accomplish this portion of your applications. Jen, you want to talk a little bit about organization?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Allison. And I'll add like just a quick asterisk to what Allison just said about using Overgrad to send transcripts. There are a handful of schools that don't use Overgrad to send documents. And we take care of that on our end. We'll see, you've requested something like, say, Boise State University wants your transcript and they currently don't use Overgrad. We would have you request it with our transcript request form. Do you want to say anything about that, Allison? I don't want to add confusion.
No, you don't need, so that you definitely can do that. Like if you already know the school doesn't accept through Overgrad, there are just a few, you can do that. You can also still request it through Overgrad. We'll see that they aren't accepting Overgrad docs, and we will have it sent for you. So you don't necessarily need to do that. If you request it through Overgrad, we'll make sure it gets there. Okay. So don't stress too much.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. So it might look a little funny on your end, like that it's just sitting there. So we will take care of that. Okay. Organization. Yes, it is truly just as important as applications themselves. And we have some tools to help you keep yourself together. So you can use Google Drive. That is a great place to organize everything. Use folders, label things appropriately so you have everything in one spot and not, strewn all over your desktop. A deadline calendar, whether it is, I know a lot of students just use their phone and that is their little calendar reminder. Whatever you actually already use would be a good idea to continue using. If you already use your phone calendar for a lot of things, and you know that works for you, that's the key here. There's no one right way to organize yourself, but you do have to have some type of system, some type of deadline calendar. We have some, I think we might have a link in here to a particular type of calendar or organizer. Is that a little bit later, Allison?
Yes, we'll show you at the end what some of these might look like for you that you can steal from us.
Okay, great. Graphic organizers, there's digital ones. Again, we're leaving this pretty open-ended because there's a lot of personal preference here. Some people still like what I call old school, even though I am old, okay? I didn't grow up with computers. And so I would just use paper, pencil, and just kind of write things out myself. And there are a few, super kinetic people who still like to operate that way, and that's great. Do what works for you. A cheat sheet. So again, that might just be, your form of keeping lists of, it's going to have to include what colleges, which type of deadline that you're going to use. You'll need to do this also for scholarship applications and what those deadlines are and what they require. you know, who have I requested letters of rec from? Like, you absolutely, like, my mind is already exploding just saying this out loud. Like, this is so much information. So on the blog, Allison first went to tips and tools for organizing, which is on our blog. So please, I've put that link several times in the chat from tonight already. There's a college application organizer we have in there that kind of has started the system for you that you can just add to. So you have, you know, your deadlines that you're going to write out, transcripts that might be required for each one, your test scores if you are doing that, letters of rec, essays, other items which might be specific scholarships or interviews, something special for that particular college. Maybe some have like alumni interviews, some offer fly-ins, there are all kinds of different things that colleges do. But this is one idea. It may not speak to you, or it may not be how your brain works, but find something like this that makes sense in your brain. And here's the student info cheat sheet, which is a great way to keep everything in one place, from, you know, your GPA to those school codes that somebody was just asking about, all of your logins for the, you know, myriad of different things, you know, whether it's an individual school website login or your overgrad login, your FAFSA login, CSS profile. There's so many, College Board. So I love this cheat sheet. This is one of my favorite resources right here. So that is, you know, just kind of a quick peek at how to stay organized in a way that makes sense to you. There are, again, if you just Google college application organizer, you will find lots of other things that you may like better, but please find something, some way to keep yourself organized, because this is not an easy task. This is above and beyond, I think, almost anything you've had to keep track of so far in your school life. If you're somebody who's applying to multiple colleges and doing financial aid and doing scholarships, you've got to keep this organized. So my heart goes out to you. When Allison and I were in college, but I'm much older than Allison. When I was in college, I am telling you, it was actually pretty easy, you know, back in, okay, I don't want to date myself, but this, I actually didn't need this, you know, back in, all right, I'll say it. I graduated from high school in 1988, probably before Allison was born. And it was
just 1 year, just by 1 year.
See, so it was really easy for me. And I just feel for you guys. It's a lot more to manage nowadays. So
Yes. Yeah. So your brain is not meant to remember all of these things. That's why there are tools to write it down. So please don't try to hold it all in your head. Even, you know, some of my most organized students will try to hold it in their brains, and I'll check in with them. Okay, did you send your college transcripts to this school and this school? And oh shoot, I know I requested my high school transcripts, but I don't know. You don't have to. As soon as you do something, write it down, check it off. And then you'll just know, and you'll be able to sleep at night knowing I've done what I need to do. So
thank you. Yes.
Steal these things from us, hit file, make a copy, and they're all yours. Make it your own, make it make sense to you. But like Jen said, please just use something, do something. Because it will, like it said, organization is just as important. It doesn't matter how good your application is if you miss the deadline or you leave an element out. So just stay on it. We're going to open it up for questions in a second. But before we do, for those who are in a hurry to go, we just want to share some announcements. So if you haven't started your FAFSA application yet, like I said, we talked about financial aid a couple weeks ago with Jen Sadolino. You can rewatch that webinar if you feel like you want somebody to get your wheels turning about how to pay for college first. But if you feel confident, jump right in and start filling out the FAFSA application. That is a part of your college application, really, that we didn't talk about tonight, in that it's what the schools use to create your financial aid package, what they're going to offer you. And so don't forget to fill that out. Even if you think the school's not going to give you money, do it anyways, because they probably will. And also don't forget the Oregon Promise application. That one gets you money toward tuition at community colleges. Even if you don't think you're going to go to community college next year, fill it out, because if the last 2 years have taught us anything, it's that our plans sometimes don't matter and we need plan B, C, D, and E. So apply for that so that it literally takes 4 minutes, and you could have money for community college next year. And if you're applying to certain schools, they'll let you know on their admissions page that they use something called the CSS profile, which is their own version of the FAFSA, but a little more detailed. Some private schools will use it. If you have questions about that, that's a great thing to make an appointment with us about, that we can walk you through.
And I'll just add real quick on the CSS profile. It is not in lieu of the FAFSA. It is in addition to the FAFSA. You have to do both. So always know that
Yes.
CSS profile school, it's like plus. You have to do this extra thing. And because it's not federal aid, it's institutional aid. FAFSA is federal government grant funding. The CSS profile will use that FAFSA to award you, but they'll use CSS for institutional aid. And that's why it's so heavily used by private schools, because they're heavily funded by the private sector. So,
Yes.
And it's more time consuming. And I have a kid who goes to a CSS school that I have to do every year. And it's like, but it's doable. And if you just know that I'm happy to help walk you through any of that.
Yes, Jen's the pro. Jen's, because she's got kids in college, so she knows how, not just what you need to fill out, but how to fill it out, because she has to do it every year. She's amazing. Another thing you might want to do before you go is click on this link to register for an upcoming virtual college fair. There's national college fairs going on that we have posted on our college career counselor, or our college career calendar, that are going on all fall, but this one is only going to be a few high schools in the West, specifically for colleges in the West. So you would have an opportunity to really chat with college counselors at this one. So consider registering for that. You can see the details when you click that link. It's going to be on, oh my gosh, November 3rd. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I threw the link in the chat box for
Thank you.
Like bookmark that right now.
Thank you. And then, like I just referenced, the college career calendar, there is a bunch of events on this calendar that we keep on our website. So you can see not only our webinars, but if we know of a webinar coming up that another group of experts is offering, we'll put it on there. College fairs, apprenticeship info sessions. So not only college stuff, but also career stuff we're going to be throwing on there all year long. So just have that bookmarked on your computers so that you can see what's coming up. Yeah, there we go. So in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about essays, and it's going to be very exciting. I'm going to be excited. It might not be exciting, but I'll be excited because this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So we hope you can join us at 6 p.m. in a couple weeks. And that is all the content we have tonight. So you can stick around for questions, and we are happy to answer them. Now is the chance to unmute yourself if you want or need to. But if not, it was great seeing, if not your faces, your names on our screen tonight. We will have this recording up on the blog by the end of the week.